Hi, I'm Edith Young, and I'm the author of the book Color Scheme, as seen here, and I also work as an artist, designer, and writer. And I'm here today with Design Milk for the DMTV Milkshake. So the premise of this is that they've sent me a few questions which are in my vessel of choice, and I will shake it around and answer a few of them. Here we have Isabel Halley, the ceramicist's bumpy vase, which is a prized possession of mine. I will try not to drop it. So the first question is, do you remember the light bulb moment behind the first palette? And I do. So the palettes originated as prints, but now they're all together here in the book. And the genesis of this project came from one night in art school. I went to the movie theater, the cable car cinema in Providence, Rhode Island with my friend Elizabeth, and we went to go see this movie, The Eye Has to Travel, the documentary about Deanna Vreeland, who was the editor of Vogue and I believe Harper's Bazaar, and she said all sorts of kind of grandiose things. They excerpted part of her autobiography where she says this line, in her 1984 autobiography, DV, she says, "All my life I've pursued the perfect red. I can never get painters to mix it for me. It's exactly as if I'd said, I want Rococo with a spot of Gothic in it and a bit of Buddhist temple. They have no idea what I'm talking about. About the best red is to copy the color of a child's cap in any Renaissance portrait." Any is italicized for emphasis. I was sitting there and I thought, what if you could see this concept that she is talking about in sort of a gridded array, the way that you would see a color chart, kind of like this by Farrow and Ball, or another Benjamin Moore, or these are circles, this by Backdrop. You know, like those reds are all different that she's talking about. They're all from different paintings, painted slightly different years, different studios, different artists. So they're not the same red, even though she's sort of insisting that they are, that they would all be the same, that they would all be the thing that she's looking for. And so I love this idea that it was like sort of so ludicrous for her to say this, but also kind of true because we all and you know, if you're familiar with art history or paintings, you sort of have a sense of what kind of red she's talking about. So I wrote this idea down of, you know, presenting this idea in a gridded array in my phone, and then I did nothing about it for 2 years. It just sat there, and then eventually I made the print. And the print, that would be somewhat satisfying to see the final manifestation. So this is the reds of the red caps in Renaissance portraits. Oh, okay, so this is fairly topical. Do you have a favorite palette in the book? I have two favorites. They're in two different chapters. One is in the contemporary art chapter. It's called Botero's Beverages. I'll show it to you. It's sort of the color that my apartment is shaping, or color palette, color scheme that my apartment is shaping up to be. It's a very tropical palette. And I love it both for the colors and for the concept behind it, if I do say so myself. Fernando Botero is a wildly popular painter from Colombia, and he paints figures, inanimate objects, all sorts of things in sort of an exaggerated form. So I also had noticed that whether he was painting a still life or a genre painting or a portrait or, you know, an artist in their studio, which was probably him, a self-portrait of some kind, he always had a beverage tucked away somewhere. There are always beverages strewn about these compositions. You know, and in a still life it made sense, but sometimes they're card players or some kind of like funny scene in a bathroom, and there's always like a little glass of a pink or orange juice, maybe like a guava juice or an orangina. And I just love this idea that they kind of like became their own subplot throughout his body of work. And it made me also wonder, like, what his studio looks like, he must have 16 glasses, you know, half full with different kinds of tropical juices throughout his studio. My other favorite is in the pop culture chapter, and this is Denis Rodman's hair dye in chronological order over the course of his career. It's the only diptych in the book, and I mean, really, the biggest one I've ever made. I kind of consider this a magnum opus in the scheme of color palettes, but I would love to make a print of the last one I showed you, and then this one I also I think would make for a great print. I haven't quite decided. I think it would be really fun for it to be a rectangle that is kind of a landscape orientation, and so you can just have like this giant palette in one print on the wall, but it also could be, you know, two 24 by 36 palettes and put together like a diptych. So those are my favorites. Tell us about Powers of Observation. So Powers of Observation is a newsletter I started about a year ago. It is a monthly visual essay. I started it because I wanted to play around with the medium of the visual essay. The form of the visual essay has been really compelling to me for a long time as someone who writes and, you know, is also a visual person. I spent the first few years of my career as a photographer and photo editor, and have since kind of moved into also graphic design. I've been illustrating more recently, so finding this kind of narrative medium, and then kind of data visualization too, so finding this narrative medium where I can synthesize all of these things and kind of form my own language within it and, you know, depict a place or tell a story is really kind of an exciting direction that I want to go much further and much deeper into. So this is, what are you working on now? I would say the last month has been a pretty good example of an ideal mix of what I would love to be working on all the time. The fun thing about the question, what are you working on now, is it's kind of like asking someone, who's your favorite artist, or what's your favorite book? It's, as soon as someone asks that, every artist you've ever loved escapes your mind completely. But anyway, I'll list a few things that I have been working on. So I'm just finishing up one visual essay for an independent magazine that's coming out this summer. I'm really excited about that. I'm also working on a couple projects with my brother. One is sort of a visual essay. It takes that format a little bit, but it's food oriented, and we're making it for a brand, and I'm doing the illustrations, so I'm about halfway done with those, and then also doing some design work for it. For that one, he wrote everything. I did a little bit of editing, but and all of my suggestions were accepted, but really phenomenal, so I'm really excited about that one too. And I've been working on an art advising project, which I've loved and was hoping to do more of because I had only sort of done it in a different corporate context, so that has been really fun. There's something really great about being able to support an artist that you know or love, and then also make someone else happy with their purchase, with their acquisition, so that's been really fun. And then I just wrote a couple pieces that are standard essays for a magazine. So one just came out online for Frederick magazine, and it's about the artist Wayne Pate, and kind of charts his career since he arrived in New York via the Greyhound bus from Texas. So those, I loved all of those projects. Thank you so much for having me, Design Milk.